Good afternoon. I would like to begin by thanking the organizers of Human Rights Foundation for inviting me to give this talk in memory of Dr. K. Balagopal. I never had the fortune of meeting him or working with him, but I heard a lot about him from Krishna, Anuradha, and my other friends from Andhra and Telangana. A couple of years ago, when my friend and I visited Krishna and his family, he filled me in with all the accomplishments of Balagopal. I found out recently that he did all his pre-university education in Kavali in Prakasham district. Kavali is the site of another upcoming nuclear power plant, as you may have heard. I've read some of Balagopal's writings in EPW, but never followed his activism as we were quite preoccupied with our own activities in the southernmost tip of Tamil Nadu. I had the singular opportunity of meeting with his wife, Vasanta Lakshmi, and had lunch with her this afternoon. I can't say how I wish that Balagopal was with us in this moment of crisis, when we are fighting against all kinds of issues: fascism, militarism, nuclearism, and all related issues. But I'm sure Balagopal's writings and speeches will definitely inspire us to persist with our respective campaigns, not just in the Telugu states, but all over India. He was a pan-Indian activist, not just limited to Telugu states or Andhra Pradesh that time. So I really consider this as a great inspiration to stand in front of you on the 10th anniversary of Balagopal's departure from us. I don't know where to begin. The situation is so murky, so confusing, so hopeless, and so anti-democratic and anti-people, as Sanjay Kak pointed out this morning. All in the name of development, they are thrusting down all kinds of disastrous, destructive projects down our throats. Particularly nuclear power plants, uranium mines, and the nuclear bomb programs are very disturbing for obvious reasons. Even in the Western countries, when they came up with this nuclear power technology, they said it would be too cheap, electricity would be too cheap to meter with nuclear power. Now, the matter of fact is, it is too costly to matter. In India, they came up with the similar arguments that, electricity is going to be so cheap. Electricity is going to be so safe, electricity generation. Now, electricity generation, electricity we need. We have never said that we are against development or we are against electricity. But at what cost? Are the people for electricity, or is electricity for the people? That's a simple question we put forward in our anti-Kudankulam campaign in Tamil Nadu. Nuclear power, to tell you the truth, is the most expensive way of generating electricity. We all know that. It is heavily subsidized. No other electricity generation scheme is subsidized and protected and pampered by the state like this, not just in India, anywhere in the world. Let me give you one recent example. You may have heard about the Fukushima accidents. It happened in the month of March in 2011. Now, they have estimated that the cost of the ongoing cleanup of the Fukushima nuclear power plant would be $75 billion, not million. $75 billion to clean up the mess that the Fukushima accident has given rise to. They are in the process of dismantling, decommissioning some of the nuclear power plants. Japan, as you may know, has been heavily reliant on nuclear power. They had total 52 reactors, and 40% of them have been shut down after the Fukushima accident. They are in the process of restarting some of them, but they are meeting with heavy resistance from the people of Japan. To decommission just one single nuclear power plant, it costs $560 million. You can calculate the rupee amount. They give rise to the impression that nuclear power is so cheap and we should really stick to it to keep up with the growing cost of generating electricity and so forth, but it is not true. Construction of a nuclear power plant takes anywhere between 10 to 25 years. And the project runs for 40 to 60 years. And after that, you cannot just put a lock on it and walk away. You have to decommission, which takes decades. You have to keep it protected for at least 100 years. And after decommissioning, you have to safeguard, safekeep the waste that is generated by these nuclear power plants for so many years, because they wouldn't lose their radioactivity for the next 48,000 years. So imagine the cost that is involved in the whole thing. Nuclear power is the safest way of generating electricity, they say, but let me tell you, the experience is totally different. It is one of the most dangerous way of producing electricity, and the whole nuclear establishment is shrouded in secrecy and mystery. Hundreds of nuclear scientists have committed suicide and the news goes unreported. There are all kinds of troubles there. They completely sweep it under the carpet. They don't reveal, they don't discuss, they don't share with the civil society, with the people of India, not only here in India, around the world. Let me give you one example. You may have heard the name Yukiya Amano. Yukiya Amano was leading the International Atomic Energy Agency based in, I think, Vienna. This Japanese man was leading the IAEA for several years, and he was the most vociferous votary, advocate of nuclear power. Now, there is a irony in there. United Nations is against nuclear weapons, but it is for nuclear power. Yukiya Amano died recently. And let me read from this newspaper clipping. The IAEA said Amano died Thursday, this year July. Died last Thursday, but his family had asked the agency not to disclose his death until a family funeral had taken place Monday. It did not give a cause of death for Amano or say where he died. It did not give a cause of death for Amano or say where he died. You know why? He died of cancer. Why can't they tell the truth? The man was visiting so many nuclear facilities all over the world. Obviously, he was exposed. Obviously, he had died because of that. Tell the truth. Let the people know that even a UN official cannot be safe from a nuclear power plant, from a uranium mine, or from a nuclear facility, reprocessing facility, and other assorted establishments. This is the problem. They don't tell the truth. They don't share any information with the public. When the Kudankulam nuclear power plant was announced right after the Chernobyl accident in 1988, some of us protested against that. Right after the Chernobyl accident, no responsible government or leader would ever accept a project like that. Right after the Chernobyl accident, Rajiv Gandhi was welcoming that, and he was ready to establish that there in Kerala, but people of Kerala protested so vehemently, and the project was shifted to the southern tip of Tamil Nadu. The environmental impact assessment report was not given to the public. Safety analysis report, site evaluation report, the detailed project report, nothing was shared with the public. This is a democratic country. Many of us are educated. We may not be nuclear scientists or rocket scientists, but we do know what is good for us, our families, and our progeny. We do have the intelligence. Even if the illiterate people do have some intelligence, they know what is good for them and what is not good for them. So, as a government, it is their duty to give all this basic information to the public, and we demanded these reports in 3 languages: Tamil, English, and Malayalam, because we are very close to Kerala. So, give this information to us in these 3 languages, if possible in Hindi too, and let the people discuss. If we cannot read and understand, we will find a way to read and understand. Give us this information. Let us discuss. Take an informed stand on the issue. If enough number of people accept this project that it is in the best interests of our people, our local community, and the national society, by all means go ahead. Who are you and I? We cannot stand on the way. No information was given. We had to mobilize our own information by picking up all the different reports from newspaper clippings and all those things, and we had to compile. As a matter of fact, there is a case happening right now in the Delhi High Court, which I filed some 7-8 years ago. I myself am the petitioner, asking for a copy of the site evaluation report. Site evaluation report describes the pros and cons of a particular site. There is nothing to hide. It is not a national security information. There is nothing which puts the nation in jeopardy. What are the merits and demerits of this particular site? And that report hasn't been shared with the people even today. The case is still going on in the Delhi High Court. Maybe they may announce the judgment after I die. This is the situation. No information is given. People are not taken into confidence. We are expected to shut up and follow. This is fascist development. They know what is good for us, and they would ask us, we should oblige. Don't ask any questions. If you ask questions, you are standing on the way of national development. You may be called a Maoist, an Naxalite, or a Tamil tiger, or an American stooge, or foreign funded, urban Naxal, or a secessionist. That's the word they use in Tamil Nadu quite often, as they are so afraid of us that we will secede. Like Sanjay was talking this morning, they do everything to alienate you in all possible means. Is this a democratic way of generating electricity? We have been talking about Nallamala uranium mine issue here. We went to the area yesterday. We met with a lot of people, and nobody seems to know anything about the project. There is so much reserve of uranium, they say, okay, tell the local people, the Chenchu or whoever they may be, are intelligent enough to understand the repercussions of such projects, whether they are fisher people of India or Chenchus or some indigenous community or women, children, youth, whoever they may be, they are intelligent enough. Now, don't think that you should have a PhD in political science to take an informed decision on any issue. People of India are intelligent enough to know what is good or bad for them, and they can stand up for their right. And when they do, please respect. This is a goddamn democratic country. This is not one man's private estate. Give the information to the people of Nallamala region. Let them understand. And if they say no, that means a no. That is the spirit of democracy. Suppose we find a lot of uranium, not uranium, God save Delhi. If they find a lot of platinum and gold and diamond underneath the Rashtrapati Bhavan, will they go and demolish the Rashtrapati Bhavan tomorrow? Really, seriously. There is so much gold underneath the parliament. They are not going to do that. So, you know, the Adivasis and the indigenous people of India are dispensable, right? You can do away with them. That is what is happening in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, here in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. That is the wrong way of developing. And if you say that, you will become a Maoist. They say that nuclear power is the only way answer for climate change. Now, first of all, climate change is a wrong phrase. It is climate destruction. Destruction is a crime. Crime that you willingly do. It is not change. Everything has been completely changed, destroyed. So, climate destruction is a major issue. Poisoned air is a serious issue. But polluting the earth cannot be the answer. They say that nuclear power is the only answer for climate destruction, so they promote this nuclear power. Imagine the amount of cement that goes into the construction of a nuclear power plant. Imagine the amount of steel and electricity that go into the construction of a nuclear power plant. Where do they come from? From polluting source. After the plant runs for 40 to 60 years, it is going to be decommissioned. Where is the energy going to come from? Polluting sources. What are you going to do with the waste that is generated by a nuclear power plant? You are going to deal with them, handle them for several hundreds of years. Where is the energy going to come from for that? From polluting sources. So, how can the nuclear power plant be the answer for climate destruction? Another blatant lie the government and the nuclear establishments all over the world tell us. Nuclear nuclear generation kills the alternatives. That is another problem. Just take the United States, that promotes, especially after the Bush Jr.'s regime, administration, America has been heavily pushing this nuclear industry, and now we find out that clean energy resources supplied more of America's electricity than coal for the first time in April this year. They have been dependent upon coal energy for a long time. In fact, when Donald Trump stood for election last time, he promised that he would revive the coal industry. Such a big industry that is in the United States, but now the clean energy resources have overtaken coal energy production. If that is the condition in the United States, shouldn't it be the situation all over the world so that we can reduce carbon emission? Shouldn't that be the way to go? Instead, they are pushing for coal power and other mainstream power generation in not only in this country and around the world. Now, Indian government is planning a nuclear mala. I am sure you may have heard about Sagar Mala, Bharat Mala, and so many malas. You can imagine the Indian coast. We have 7,500 kilometer long coastline in this country. There are 3,600 coastal villages all along. They all engage in sustainable fishing. They do very little harm to the sea and to the environment. And what do? They contribute quite significantly and considerably to our food chain, to our food security. 1/3 of India relies upon this fish, not only for food but also for nutrition. When Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India, he announced in the Parliament that 40% of our children born in India are born underweight and malnourished. 40%. Can you imagine? How can these children ever evolve into full human beings? How can they ever learn in the schools and colleges? How can they ever be productive citizens of this country? 1/3 of our country, almost 50 million people of this country are dependent on this seafood. In our country, in our part of the country, you can eat without rice and wheat, but you cannot eat without fish. That is the situation. Now, 3,600 coastal villages are engaged in this fishing industry. And when you set up all these nuclear power plants, thermal power plants, shipwrecking plants, and all kinds of destructive ports and other allied auxiliary industries, imagine what is going to happen to our seafood industry. They are thinking about setting up so many ports, mini ports, and around the port they would establish industrial clusters, and the things that are produced in this cluster will be transported to another port, and for that they are going to construct 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane roads, parallel railway track. We are going to lose considerable amount of land in these projects. Now, when all these new ports, these Sagarmala ports are set up all along the coast, we are obviously going to lose the fish production. In fact, that's what they want. Just as our farmers are committing suicide, they want the fishermen to start killing themselves. Just as we are ignoring, neglecting the agricultural sector, they want to do the same thing to the fishing sector. They have just announced the Fishing Act 2019, I think, and by that they are putting so many restrictions on the fisher people about fishing, and they are letting the foreign trawlers do the fishing without any kind of conditions. So the situation is going to be much worse pretty soon. In Tamil Nadu, if you can imagine the Indian map, Kudankulam comes at the bottom, very near to Kanyakumari. A nuclear power park. Park, that's the phrase they use, because they don't want to put any negative image in your mind. So when it is park, you will see it's green with butterflies and birds and animals singing and dancing, and you can go to a park, have fun with your family. That's a nuclear power park. If you come up a little bit, Kalpakam, another park, where our Xi Jinping and our Narendra Modi had fun for 2 days. Very, very close to Kalpakam. Come up, Andhra Pradesh. They are planning a nuclear power park at Kavali between Prakasam and Nellore district. We went to Kavali, met with the people. People are really worried. Fisher people, very worried about the future of their villages, for their very survival. They are planning another power park at Kovada in Srikakulam district of Andhra Pradesh. Another one in Haripur, Purba Medinipur district in West Bengal. Now, in between they are planning one in Orissa and all, but not announced yet. But they do have plans for such projects. Narendra Modi signed a deal with the Russians a couple of months ago for 20 reactors. 2 of them are going to come to us, Kudankulam, 6 at Kavali, 6 at Kovada, 6 at Haripur. So the whole Bay of Bengal is taken care of. You can imagine what these nuclear power plants will do because of thermal pollution and radioactive contamination. When these power plants work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all throughout the year for 40 to 60 years, churning out radioactive contaminated water, water which is hot, and dump all this water into the sea, what do you think will happen? We will lose the fish. Even today, the fishermen around Kalpakkam have lost their livelihood. Local people wouldn't buy that fish because of their convoluted forms and all kinds of deformities. They don't want to eat the fish. They have serious problems. So you can imagine the whole Bay of Bengal will be boiling without any kind of seafood. Kerala people are very clear about this, and all the Kerala politicians and political parties are uniform in taking the decision against a nuclear power plant. Whether Congress or Communists, they stand united. They are intelligent people. Karnataka, there is Kaiga, huge nuclear power complex. There is one in Tarapur in Maharashtra. They are planning another one in Jaitapur with French technology. It's a major nuclear complex in Jaitapur, Ratnagiri district in Maharashtra. They planned another one in Mithi Virdi in Bhavnagar district in Gujarat. Another interesting thing happened. I've been to Mithi Virdi. Mithi Virdi means sweet water. Mithi, sweet, Virdi, water in Gujarati language. I've been there. People of Mithi Virdi said, no, we don't want a nuclear power plant. You know what the hyper-nationalistic sons and daughters, not daughters much, hyper-nationalistic sons of Bharat Mata did? They cancelled the project. They cancelled the dam project that was going to come up in Mithi Virdi. So if Gujaratis protest against a nuclear power plant, they can win. But if you and I protest against a plant or uranium mining, we will be inviting serious cases. This is the double justice, double standard of justice that is happening in this country. Now, where are we heading? Don't we need development? Yes, we do. We are asking some simple questions. Whose development? What kind of development? What is the cost of such development? Whose development? Adani's and Ambani's and Anil Agarwal's development cannot be your and my development. The fish workers, farmers, weavers, workers, women, children, Adivasis and the youth of our country have a totally different understanding of development. That is the development they want, sustainable development. We can't pass on our resources to the successive generations. We just don't have the moral legitimacy to establish a nuclear power plant, enjoy the electricity, light up all our airports and railway stations, and dump this waste on our children and their children. They will be stuck with this nuclear waste for the next 48,000 years. Even if a nuclear power plant functions normally without any problem, it will be churning out all kinds of radioactive particles: cesium, strontium, tellurium, tritium, iodine, several different atomic weights. Now, when all these things will be spread by air and through the water effluents, what do you think will happen? Do you think nothing will happen? If you talk to the nuclear authorities, they will say, oh, nothing, very minimal. How much is very minimal? They would never acknowledge that you and I can understand this nuclear physics. Only they do. Now that kind of top-down approach is very problematic, very bothering. Acknowledge the intelligence of our people. Now when all these things happen for the next 40 to 60 years, we will lose our health. Come to Kalpakkam. If any of you are interested in this issue, please do come with me to Kalpakkam. I will take you around. We can walk down any street around Kalpakkam. Every other household will have a woman with thyroid cancer or thyroid related issues. Women particularly are affected more. Children, multiple myeloma, blood cancers, bone cancer, Down syndrome, mental retardation, kidney issues. You can imagine, you really cannot imagine the plight of the people around this facility. This is not the case just in India. I have traveled all over France, visiting all the different nuclear power plants. Believe me, wherever I went, I talked to the local people and they all said in unison that they had serious health troubles, health problems, but they could not prove their case because they did not keep any baseline data before the operation of the nuclear power plant began. That is where we fail. We have no scientific way of proving that, look, this was the case before the plant came up and this is the situation now, so you can compare that there is a high incidence of cancer now. We are not able to do that because we are so preoccupied and busy with all kinds of livelihood issues. It is the state that has to take care of these issues. The state should act like a father or mother, but the state is behaving like a mercenary now. The state is working for foreigners, for American companies, Russian companies, French companies. They buy uranium from all kinds of countries. Namibia. How many of us can locate Namibia on a world map? Kazakhstan. At least Namibia we could locate. Kazakhstan. They are buying uranium, uranium from all these countries. Namibia, Kazakhstan, and recently they signed a contract with Australia, but the people of Australia are opposing that project because they have to dig the damn thing out. People of Australia the government hasn't even opened one nuclear power plant. Australia is the major supplier of uranium. They have the largest reserve of uranium in their country, but they don't have one single nuclear power plant so far. So you can imagine the Australian government is working for their people and not our government. That is the situation. Now leaving that foreign uranium, they also want to dig out uranium from all over the country. There is this operation, major operation going on in Jadugoda in Jharkhand. I've been there so many times. I've met, believe me, I am not exaggerating. I am not lying to you. I have seen with my own eyes children with all kinds of deformities, stunted children. I have seen women suffering from all kinds of issues. It was not just like a touristic visit, go and see and come out. We stayed there in a friend's place, we recorded, we talked to them. The tailing ponds, like a 2-3 football ground size tailing ponds, are leaking in all the sites. And the children are playing by the side of these tailing ponds and get exposed. Groundwater is badly contaminated. The women are using that water for cooking and bathing, for washing and everything. They don't know. Nobody has told them. Nobody has told them, look, this is the project that we have built in the midst of your community and these are the possible repercussions. You either get out of this place or do something. No, it is their traditional land and they cannot go anywhere. Where do you expect them to go? It is their land. It is their traditional home, their history, their survival, their identity, their freedom. Their whole existence is based on that land. Where will they go? They transport this yellow cake, not yellow cake, the ore, the uranium ore from the mine to the processing unit, and believe me, the trucks were not covered. and major chunks of this ore was falling all over the road. I myself saw that. I myself stamped on the chunks. Could be damaging, could be radioactive, because there are elements. As long as they lie buried underneath the earth, they may not do any harm. But when you dig them out and put it out in the open, obviously they are going to damage, hurt you in some possible way. So reckless, so irresponsible, so careless. It was lying all over the place. On all the roads you can see a huge amount of this ore lying strewn all over. It is taken to the mill, processed, and that dirty, dangerous waste is filled on these tailing ponds, remaining there forever, contaminating the air, water, land, food, gets into the food chain. The helpless people have nowhere to go. Who will they go to? Who will they complain to? They don't even know what is going on. Standing there with Meera, Rajesh and other friends, Sundar from Chennai, yesterday in the Nallamala Hills area, I really felt sorry for those people. Development. Adani's, Ambani's, Anil Agarwal's development cannot be the development of the Chenchu people, cannot be the development of Adivasis in Jadugoda or Jharkhand. They are doing that in Tummalapalli, I heard. I wanted to visit that place for a long time, but we have been so busy with our own court cases and all that. So tomorrow, Jayashree is going to take me to Tummalapalli. Want to see this. From mining, from processing, nuclear power plant, and from nuclear power plant, dump yards. Where are we going to keep all this waste? God alone knows. And then the plutonium that comes from the nuclear power plants are going to be used for the bomb program, nuclear bombs. Nuclear power and nuclear bombs are both sides of the same coin. We oppose nuclear bomb because it is immoral, it is deadly, it is inhuman, and as the land of Buddha, Ashoka, Mahavir, Guru Nanak, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and all Thiruvalluvar, and all kinds of people, I really feel ashamed that this killing capability is going to make us a superpower. Who wants to be a superpower like this? Congress party was the one that did this nuclear first test in 1974 when Mrs. Gandhi was the Prime Minister. They often say that, look, the modern nuclear power plants are all safeguarded. The International Atomic Energy Agency and other UN agencies keep stock. They keep record of all the plutoniums that the nuclear power plants produce, so you cannot really cheat them. And just as they inspected Saddam Hussein's Iraq for weapons of mass destruction, the inspection team can walk into your country and take stock, all that nonsense. Now, where did the plutonium come from for the 1974 test, you think? From a safeguarded plant. Our scientists lied. They lied between the teeth. They used plutonium from a safeguarded plant for the bomb, 74. 98, BJP government, Vajpayee government did the second test. There is hardly any difference between these two parties, of course, but these guys are even more dangerous than the other. You know why? Because from 1967 election manifesto onwards, BJP, that time it was Bharatiya Janasangh, BJS, Bharatiya Janasangh and Hindu Mahasabha mentioned in their election manifesto that nuclear bombs, atom bombs, they used that, the phrase they used was atom bomb. We must produce atom bombs. Both the Mahasabha, Hindu Mahasabha, Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha, and the Bharatiya Janasangh talked about Hindu nationalism, minorities giving up separate national consciousness, separatist demands, uniform civil code, Ram Janmabhoomi, Krishna Janmasthan, Vishwanath Temple in Varanasi. All these issues were mentioned in the manifestos of these two parties in 1967. Mahasabha was very proud of championing the necessity of militarization. Militarize the Hindudom, Hinduize the military was the slogan of Savarkar. They were happy about championing militarization. Believe me, compulsory military training, military service is coming our way pretty soon. They were happy that their president, P.S. Munje, established a military academy in the country for the first time. They pleaded increase in defense budget, defense preparation on gigantic scales. We have to produce, increase the military strength, keep ready, be ready for warfare anytime, and demand manufacturing nuclear weapons. We must have atom bombs so that we can be a powerful actor in the international arena. We will be a superpower. So this kind of nuclear paranoia has been going on for some time. Right after the Pokhran 2 test in 1998, Prime Minister Vajpayee wrote a letter to the US President Bill Clinton. You know what he said? He said China was the reason for India's coming out of the nuclear closet. He never mentioned Pakistan. It was China. The BJP government developed a nuclear doctrine, and I quote, "The nuclear doctrine, the fundamental purpose of Indian nuclear weapons is to deter the use and threat of use of nuclear weapons by any state or entity against India and its forces. We will not be the first to initiate a nuclear strike, but will respond with massive retaliation should difference fail. India will not resort to the use or threat of use of nuclear weapons against states which do not possess nuclear weapons or are not aligned with nuclear weapons powers." The no first use, NFU. We will not use nuclear weapons first was a principled position Vajpayee government took right after the second test. Now that has been relegated to the back burner now. Rajnath Singh, many others have spoken about that. They are going to revise it, and we are facing with the threat of a nuclear Armageddon. It is not just a uranium mining operation in our neighborhood. It is a complete extinction of our country which is at stake here right now. My friend M.V. Ramana and others wrote a book called Bombing Bombay. If Pakistan dropped a bomb on Bombay, or if India dropped one on Lahore, both countries will be wiped out. They say MAD, mutually assured destruction. We both will be destroyed ourselves. Now, who would want to prepare all these nuclear weapons? These nuclear weapons have not helped us to deter Kargil war. Nuclear weapons have not helped contain the insurgencies. Nuclear weapons have not helped us stop infiltrators infiltrating into India. Then why the hell do we keep all these bombs? Why? At such a massive cost for the maintenance, for the upkeep, for the delivery, for the intelligence. Can you imagine the amount of money, time, energy, and national resources that we put into these killer machines? For what? When Zawada Wilson was talking about this morning, we haven't managed to provide a decent, dignified life to our people. 1/3 of our country still goes hungry. Half of the country lives or barely lives, scrapes along, that would be the better phrase. Half of the country scrapes along with less than 20 rupees a day. We haven't managed to provide safe drinking water to all the people. We saw some of the people in Nallamala in some of the villages yesterday. It would take several decades for them to get safe drinking water. Actually, they are a lot more developed than some of the villages I have been to in the northern part of the country. It will take centuries for them to catch up with us, with those of us who are in the southern states. Now, how can you justify all these things? Energy production, security of the country. What is security after all? We are not safe from hunger. We are not safe from diseases. We are suffering from all kinds of problems. You cannot safely walk on the pathway, sidewalk of any city in this country. An older person or a school child cannot walk safely in any of our cities or even small towns in this country. You are talking about national security, financial security, and all that nonsense. Now, let me come to the point that Sir asked me to talk about. What do we do? How do we do? When we started organizing against the Kudankulam nuclear power plant, it was definitely not in my backyard principle. We took a very principled position that India, as a highly and densely populated country, cannot afford to have this technology. Why? Because we are highly populated and very densely populated. Can you imagine a Fukushima happening in India? Japan is very developed, far more superior in science and technology, has a lot more decent government. They follow democracy. You can walk up to any ministry and protest, raise your voice, talk to anyone. If a country like that, Japan, is reeling under the pressure of this Fukushima accident, can you imagine what will happen to us? I really shudder at that thought. God save us, or nature save us. So it was definitely not in my backyard kind of thinking that we had. We took a principled stand that India doesn't need this technology, but we couldn't go on to fight against this demon in Tumalapalli, Nalgonda and all, Jadugoda all over. We concentrated on the Kudankulam issue. First of all, we educated the public. We were a small group of people, some 10 people, including some 5 women. We would go to a small town in our district or the neighboring districts and beat the drum, attract some attention from the local people. A small crowd would gather, and then we would sing 1 or 2 songs and talk to them about nuclear power, about uranium mining, about nuclear bomb combined as a whole, nuclear power as a whole, nuclear energy as a whole, and tell them what would happen when the Kudankulam nuclear power plant goes into operation in full swing. Matter of couple of hours, very cost effective operation, nothing sensational, nothing fantastic. We would spend hardly 100 or 200 rupees, and that was it. We didn't do anything substantial, anything significant, but we kept the issue alive. We educated the public. Meera gave me a book, look, Radiation Facts. This is the thing that we did. We published small handbills, leaflets, pamphlets with some pictures and very down-to-earth language, a language which ordinary people would read and understand. We would go to a village. We all would take a big shopper. I would take this street. My friend would take the other street. We would walk down, distribute these flyers to all the households, because we don't want to stand next to the bus station and people would be in a hurry and throw away. But if we take the message to their homes, they would sit down and read. At least someone in the household would read. So people would read, understand, educating the public constantly, continuously. That we did. We never let the issue die down. What did the state do? The state ignored. And we enjoyed that ignorance. They didn't want to acknowledge, well and good. We kept on working. They kept on ignoring us. It went on. Then when it reached the point that they could not ignore us anymore, they started insulting us. At the height of the Kudankulam struggle, this is what exactly we did. We kept the campaign going, and then they reached the point when they did the hot run. the experimental run of the plant, it produced so much noise and fumes and smokes and steam. People jumped out of their houses. They said, look, we cannot live with this demon for the next 40 to 60 years. We are ready to fight against it. Then they called us. See, if you keep on working, the invitation will come. Then they called us. Can you come down and work with us? We went down. We struggled with them. We worked with them. We made the issue a nationwide issue, because even when the India-US nuclear deal was signed back in 2005, when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, there was hardly any debate in the National Parliament. National Parliament had very little debate. Only the CPI, CPM comrades asked a few questions. Other than that, they came out of the government also, as you may remember. Otherwise, there was hardly any debate. There was hardly any debate in the national media, but the fishermen, the farmers, the Dalits and women of our area made that possible. All over India, people started talking about the nuclear issue. So we kept the issue alive and kept the campaign going. That was the only significant contribution we did. We were not superheroes, we were not cinema actors or sports heroes or rich political gurus like our Sadhguru. Very rich, very rich. They can link rivers, they can do magics, all kinds of things. So we were not anything like that. We did. Then we kept talking to the political leaders, educating the political leaders. Political leaders don't know anything. Really, seriously, I have talked to some of the MPs and MLAs in our part. You will be amazed. We talked to the people. We talked to the leaders. I myself went to the National Parliament a couple of during UPA 2 regime. I printed 2-page handout in Tamil and took it to Delhi and met with all our MPs. We have 39 and one in Pondicherry, 40 MPs. Met with them personally, all by myself. We were not. We didn't even have a campaign that time. Handed it over, talked to them. This kind of low-key, low-cost campaigns, educating the leaders. And as a result of that, at the height of the Kudangulam struggle, except 6 political parties, all the other political parties and movements threw their weight with us. They all came and supported us, except 6. And you can imagine who the 6 would be. Congress, BJP, DMK, ADMK, unfortunately CPI and CPM. But now, after this persistent campaign and conversation, we had a meeting with Sitaram Yechuri recently in Delhi. Now they are changing their position a little bit. We are against nuclear power parks, but still they would support nuclear power plants. This preoccupation with science and technology and all of that. So CPI and CPM are still dragging their feet. I don't know why. We are not against science and technology. We don't want to take the whole country to medieval India, medieval age. No, that's not what we say. We want science. But what kind of science? People's science. If the science helps the people lead a better, dignified life, we are all for that people's science by any means, but not for the state science. Unfortunately, our left parties do not understand. Except these 6 parties, all the other parties came. We have a problem with the politicians. If they see more than 100 people, they have to come and talk. So we have 30,000 people here. Who wouldn't want? Who wouldn't want to come and lecture them? They all came down. So this kind of political campaign. Jayalalitha was in favor of the struggle. I met with her. We met with her as a group. And I was the one who talked to her for 40 minutes in chaste English. I was very nervous. I've never met any of these fellows, in my entire life. And I always never wanted to meet them. But unfortunately, I was pushed in that position. So I was sitting right in front of Jayalalitha, shaking and shivering. And but she dealt with me very nicely. She talked to me for 40 minutes about nuclear power, energy issues, energy production, Tamil Nadu politics and all of that. Revolving around the energy issue. Jayalalitha was very much in favor of us. I can tell because a few years ago, even when the Kudangulam campaign was not taking place, she objected to the docking of the American nuclear powered ship USS Nimitz in the Chennai harbor. She said, this is a danger that we are putting the Chennai people to. So she objected to the docking of the American nuclear powered ship. So I knew that she had some information about nuclear power and the harms of it. So she was supportive. But unfortunately, I also hear that your state assembly here in Telangana has passed a resolution. But unfortunately, state political leaders cannot stick to their stand for long because it is decided in Delhi. The Delhi elites control the whole damn thing. KTR made a statement, and I was very keen to meet with him, sought appointment. He refused to meet with us. Your governor, Dr. Thamilissai Soundararajan, is another peculiar case. At the height of the struggle, I called her from my phone. I got the number from somebody. I called her and I explained to her, I introduced myself and talked to her. Akka, please, you have to take a position in this matter, in this issue. And she said, in English, she said, and she's from my district, by the way, a nice woman. As a medical doctor, this is what she said. I still remember the phrase. It is drilled into my brain. As a medical doctor, I cannot support a nuclear power plant. Really, seriously, go ask her. I sought an appointment to meet with her also, but she wouldn't meet with me. I was happy. I was really exuberant. I said, good. Why don't you make this statement? Because that would be a huge moral victory for us. The BJP chief of Tamil Nadu taking a stand against nuclear power. I really asked her, please issue a statement. She wouldn't. She said, I cannot speak against the party's policy. See this dualistic existence, these poor people. One life for their conscience, another life for the party. Go meet with her. Tell her. Tell her that she has to oppose the Nallamala uranium mine project. Because in her own village, people are suffering from cancer now. I can give you the names of people who are suffering in her own village called Agasthiswaram, very close to Kodangulam nuclear power plant. So we educated the public, we educated the leaders, we talked to them. We were very willing to talk to anyone, even if there is no audience. This is a huge audience for me. I'm used to talking to the walls, standing on the roadside, talking, keep keep the issue alive. And then never compromise. The government would completely ignore you, and then when you become a pestering problem, they would start insulting you. That's why I said, calling you urban Naxal, American stooge. I got money from America. We are hatching a conspiracy with America to prevent India's development and all that nonsense. They would insult you like anything. Third, you still persist with the issue. Don't worry about success or failure. We have been doing it for more than 20 years. Believe me, we never thought that we would come to this point that my friends in Hyderabad would invite me to give a talk in Balagopal Memorial Lecture. As a matter of fact, if I had known that this struggle would become this powerful and we would be so strong like this, I would have run away from the scene a long back, because I was not meant for this kind of thing. Keep persisting with the issue without worrying about the consequences. If you are honest, if you are sincere, if you are committed, you will reap success. I am very sure about that. Because we are able to make some inroads into the policy circles now. We have convinced hundreds of thousands of people in our country, all over the country now. So we kept the issue alive, we kept talking, and we also kept the campaign alive. Keep working, keep doing something. Never rest. The state did the other thing. You know what they did? They started intimidating us, putting false cases on you. I'm sure if you go to Nallamala and protest against uranium mine issue, you would face cases. Not ordinary types of cases. 120. waging war on the state. There are 20 cases on me. 120 cases, waging war. We are not Naxalites, we are not Maoists. I haven't even touched a rifle in my entire life. Waging war on the state. Sedition, 19 sedition cases, 121A. All these serious cases, just to intimidate you. 380 cases, passport impounded. Till date, I don't have my passport for the past 7 years. Bank accounts frozen. Properties damaged. Elderly parents, wife and children harassed by the intelligence agencies. I'm sure there must be some intelligence officers here taking notes. And I'm not lying. Complete surveillance. 24 hours a day. Constant monitoring of your movements. Surveillance. It is a police state. Seriously. They will be monitoring if there are officers here or not, but we are all under the scanner. If you protest against this uranium mine issue, nuclear power issue and all that, they will be constantly monitor you. They will put false cases on you. But never mind what they can do. What else? What at all? If at all they can do something, they will put me in prison for a couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of months. And then what? This intimidation will not work. As long as we are sincere, committed, serious about this issue, like our hero Balagopal here, nothing will happen. Vasanta Lakshmi was explaining to me over the lunch that how badly he was beaten, how badly he was intimidated and all of that. It is part of the game. They can't do anything. Don't be worried about the cases. If you have a lot of people with you, they will be afraid of touching you. Why do you think I'm standing here in Hyderabad all alone? I have people over there. If they do something to me, it will get reflected. I have hundreds of thousands of fisher people, farmers, Dalits, women who are supporting me, supporting the cause. It's not me, it's the cause. So don't be intimidated about these cases, about this state harassment. The state harasses you because, you know what is at stake for them? Billions of dollars. Vladimir Putin knows where Kudankulam is. American presidency knows all about these issues. These these powerful countries and their corporate houses, they all know what we are doing. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. It has to do with our so-called national security. National security, the rich people's security, the upper class security, the elite security, the national leader security. National security doesn't cover you and me. That we have to be very clear. So obviously they have a lot to lose and they will be worried about you. They will monitor you. They will do surveillance. They will do all kinds of harassment. The only one thing you can do, which I consciously did, was even when I entered this issue, I knew very well that I would be under surveillance, under the police radar. So I kept my tax papers intact. I kept all my records clear. And I was very careful about my personal character and discipline. Seriously, I can't even afford to go and have a bottle of beer. You have to be careful. I mean, you have to be moralistic, you have to be moral, you have to be clear of all these things, because you cannot do this dualistic existence like your governor does. Speak one thing and stick to that. That should be our principle. And I think that's a lesson we learn from people like Balagopal. You cannot have this wishy-washy kind of behavior and get away with it. So as long as you are sincere, committed, serious about this issue, obviously nothing will happen. They cannot do anything. What will happen in the future? Now, this will not, our success will not become ripe and fall on our lap. It's a hard uphill task. Keep struggling. Maybe we may have to struggle all our lives. They may not let us go that easily. They may not change the policy that soon or that easily. But we shouldn't give up hope. Being hopeful is part of the game. Despite all odds, how can be a human being hopeful in this country right now? How can any one of us be hopeful? The politics that we have, with the economic recession that we face, with the social degradation that is seeping in, how can one be optimistic? No, don't be optimistic. Then should we be pessimistic? No. Even if you are not optimistic, it's okay, but please don't become pessimistic. Because if you are pessimistic, you will give up. You won't fight. You won't struggle. You won't stand up. You won't feel motivated to get out of the house and do something. By all means, please don't be pessimistic. What do you mean? You cannot be optimistic and you can't be pessimistic? What the hell can you be? Be possibilistic. Be possibilistic. Do something every single day. It may not be spectacular. It may not be high risk, high activity. Do something. Take one day at a time. Speak to a media. Write a column in a newspaper. Write a letter to KCR, KTR and one of his family members. There are so many of them. Write to the governor who we have graciously sent to you. Write a letter. Write a letter to the editor, one short paragraph. Please stop this damn thing, Nallamala issue. We don't want that damn thing right next to us. 140 kilometers from here, hardly 150 kilometers. If they start digging, all of you will be, breathing that poison. We had a friend yesterday with Meera, Rajesh, and I had a friend with us, Sundar from Chennai. He was telling the people of Chennai that Chennai gets water from Krishna river. So if the Nallamala project goes on, that water catchment area of Krishna river or tributaries will be affected by this uranium poisoning, radioactivity. And obviously the river water that comes to Chennai will be radioactive. So in the morning we will not be just drinking tea or coffee. We will not be drinking just the coffee, we will also be drinking radioactivity. So a little bit of coffee and a little bit of radioactivity. Now that's how we have to be creative. We have to be creative, we have to be original, we have to keep talking and be possibilistic. Don't give up. Don't give up. This is a duty. This is a duty. As an educated human being in this country, 120 million people, half of them are illiterate. Half of them do not have the physical energies to stand up. 40% children born underweight and malnourished. Why are they born undernourished and malnourished and underweight? Because the pregnant mother or the lactating mother didn't get enough nutrition. Why didn't that pregnant mother and lactating mother didn't get enough nutrition? The damn family is poor. Poverty, underdevelopment, lopsided development paradigm. This nonsensical trickle down and all that new nonsensical policies and projects. There's so many things. So be possibilistic, stand up. Gather around a group of people, as Sanjay Kak was telling us this morning, that they gave instruction to the police authorities that arrest everyone who has the charisma to gather 20 people. Gather 20 people. You don't have to gather 200 people or 2,000 people. If you manage to gather 20,000, 2 lakh people, you will become another KCR. So we don't want you. Only 20 to 200. 20 to 200, shouldn't go more than 200, less than 20. Gather people, educate, talk to them. Nothing spectacular may happen if I talk to my family members, if I talk to my colleagues in the workplace or in my church, in my temple, in my mosque. What do you think will happen? Nothing spectacular may happen immediately, but never mind. As our Bhagavad Gita says, do your duty. Don't worry about, don't worry, I am a Periyarist. Don't worry about the fruits. I'm trying to come to terms with this struggle-oriented existence. Causes a lot of difficulties to your family, of course. Your family has to bear the brunt of it. And when you pay, the family also will have to pay something. There is a cost for all of these things. But some of us, as Margaret Mead said, never underestimate the strength of a small group. A small group of people can do miracles. And I am very sure and optimistic, not just possibilistic, that we, the educated citizens of this country, will one day make some meaningful changes happen. And then in that country, we will not have nuclear power plant, uranium mines, dumping sites, and nuclear bombs. We will be very proud of our Indian heritage of non-violence, cooperation, communal living, and peacefulness. Thank you.